Good morning and welcome to yet another MindShift Monday where we talk family, finances, and just about whatever you guys want to talk about. But you gotta leave that comment in the comment section below so we know what you're thinking about. We want to know what you're thinking about, what you're learning about, what you want to know more about. But today we're talking all about family and in that category, and we're talking about how much screen time is too much. Whether it's your children or whether it's you, adult-wise, how much is too much screen time? That's all right up ahead.
So if you asked your kids how they would describe screen time, what would they say? Here's what our kids said.
Well, it's like watching movies and playing games on phones and watching videos on computers and stuff like that. Sometimes learning, but sometimes just for fun. Watching movies and abcmouse.com.
Okay, that'll work. That being said, the younger kids just put screen time in as movies, video time in front of that TV. But our oldest child, he thought that screen time had to deal with cell phones, computers, just the whole realm. And I think he's absolutely right. And that screen time is never going to go away. In fact, we know that as technology progresses and everything like that there's just going to be different ways that kids are going to be able to get screen time. So we really need to instill in our kids and in ourselves how much screen time is too much screen time. And so we're going to cover 3 indicators that your family might be having too much screen time.
So number 1 is a really good indicator if that's all you and your kids think about when you first get up in the morning. I think that's a pretty good way to know, like, if you have too much going on in your family, is they run to those Kindles, they run to those iPads, they run to that TV, they run to that phone, you run to that phone, you run to Facebook, you run to Twitter, you run to the latest and greatest news report. And so I think we've noticed, we homeschool, that's what we've chose to do, and it works great for our family. And I've really noticed, since I'm the one staying home with the kids and homeschooling, that if we make sure to not have a ton of technology, it's just not actually even an option until school's over. It goes a lot better because we could just get on with the day. Plus, something I've been thinking about as far as technology goes is it's mostly a downer.
Yeah.
And if you're starting your day off with a downer, you're looking at the news report and you're looking at all the mass shootings and all the, negative stock market reports or whatever. You're constantly starting to fill your day out with things that are negative. So how do you think your day is going to go? And also on the other side of it is comparison. So you see everybody's clean house and you see everybody's new car and you see everybody's whatever it is. You start comparing and then you start kind of being down in the dumps when you first get going. So I think that's 2 pretty good indicators. Is just how your mentality is in the morning when you guys get up.
The number 2 indicator on whether or not your family is having too much screen time, and this is a big one, is if you're yelling at your kids and you get absolutely no response. Same is true with your wife or your husband, right? You're saying, hey, I got something to say, and there's nothing there. And that's because we're so glued to our devices, we're so glued to the TV, and it just puts us in a different mindset and a different mood. And we can definitely see that in our children. Mm-hmm. Their whole demeanor changes, it seems as though, when they are in front of that screen, when they're watching their little videos, and you try to say something to them, and either they don't listen to you, or they look up and just explode out of nowhere because you've taken them out of their kind of sub-reality that they're in when they're watching this video. They're so entranced in it and they're so a part of everything that's going on that they're just not even living in the reality at that moment. And when you suck them away from that, that just sets things off in them that it almost creates mayhem in their little mind. And it does the same as adults too, and sometimes we're able to mitigate that and do a little bit better than our children are. But still, that's a really good indicator. If you're just seeing bad moods all the time and nobody's listening to anybody, and you're just really struggling to make those connections, then it's time to go ahead and start to minimize that screen time.
Number 3 indicator that we want to talk about is just the relational side of it. If you're noticing that it's the second all of you guys get in the door at 3:30 or 5 o'clock, or maybe even at 8 in the morning, and all of you guys just split and you're all to each room, somebody's in the computer room, somebody's in their bedroom, somebody's in the office, and you're all just in different corners of the house, you're not bringing that core unit, the family, together. And I think part of that goes to say that you just have to lay down some really strict guidelines, and it's not just kids, it's parents too. And so maybe a no screen mealtime is really huge for us. We really try to just have that be a time that is every single meal, and we are fortunate to eat 3 meals together a day. So we just have a no screen. There's no cell phones, unless there's something that absolutely needs to happen during that time. It's just off limits. Especially since we homeschool, we don't do screen time until after school. And sometimes I do let them do like a ABC or mouse.com or some educational app while I'm homeschooling one, to maybe have the other kid learning in a little bit different way, and kind of just as a reward system sometimes too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a really good kind of tip with this thing is, if you're watching this video and you're going, man, we're out of control on the screen time thing. It's something I want to pull our family together. I want to get this under control. Do be a little bit hesitant on how quick you do that all. If you're really going to just try to crack down on your kids and whoever, and just lay down the law, they're going to fight you on that hard. So I wouldn't recommend, just taking away all of screen time for the whole week and then find your whole family just binging all weekend and just sitting in front of their screens all weekend trying to catch up. I think it's okay, but if you have older kids or you just have a lot going on, there's different times of the year where it seems like you have a little bit more time to have that screen time, and then there's times where the weather's nicer, you've just got so much more going on that you just can't fit that time in your day anyway. So the reality is there's hardly any screen time even being utilized at that time. So those are things to just think about. But yeah, I wouldn't just cut it completely out during the week unless that's just how your family does it, because you might just find your family just completely binging all weekend. But just minimize throughout the week and make sure it's something you're watching, and make sure that you're watching your kids so that they're minimizing that as well and keeping those under a reasonable amount of time. So I did ask the kids a few questions, and we'll end with that. And this is completely just in their mind. So the first question is, how much screen time, if they could just sit all day and watch all they wanted to, how much would they actually sit down and watch? How much screen time would they have? So that was question number 1. Question number 2 is, well, in reality, how much screen time do you really get? And for the younger ones, it was, how many movies can you watch? How many movies do mom and dad allow you to watch in a day? So that's the actual reality of what they feel they get to do. And then the third question was, do you think that that's fair? So that's just coming from there. I thought that would kind of be a neat little ender for this. Thanks so much for watching, and do subscribe and like the video if you like the content that's going on here. Thanks so much, and we'll see you later.
At least 3 or 4 hours a day, maybe. 40
movies in a day?
5.
5?
Probably like an hour. 1 movie.
1 movie a day?
Probably fair. No.
Okay.